Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the webinar or live. Great to have you here. Today, we're going to be talking about how do you build that pipeline, that 25K a month pipeline from LinkedIn. Now, why 25K? Well, to some degree, it is an arbitrary figure. You can make it 50K, 100K, whatever you want. But most of the people who watch my stuff are executive coaches, they're fractional leaders, they're partners in law firms. And so they've all got a revenue target to achieve. And a lot of people approach me and they say, Dean, I get a lot of my business from referrals. And when it comes to going on LinkedIn or email campaigns or whatever we're trying to do, it just doesn't seem to work. So I'm going to lay out today, basically, how do you fix that? How do you get to a point where you can get predictable clients and revenue from LinkedIn, but anywhere? What are the fundamentals to get there? So there's three parts that we're going to look at today. And those three parts are foundational. They're not optional. They're mandatory. Yeah, there's no negotiating. And I'm going to push back to you and say, here's the things that you need to go and look for in your own activity to go, are they there? Because if they're not there, these are the things you need to put in place. So if you've never been to one of these before, I'm Dean. I'm the founder of Maverick, largest social selling training company in the world. I focus on helping experts, coaches, consultants, law firms, anybody who's selling their expertise and knowledge. Maverick, as a business, does a lot of the corporate training, sales training, marketing training for larger organizations, more diverse organizations. But I focus mainly on those organizations or those companies where it's very owner-driven, it's owner-led, it's expertise-led. So great to have you here. And let's just jump into what we're going to talk about today. There is a chat. I will try and refer back to it as we go. So feel free to jump in. Hi, Andy. Great to have you here. I think yeah, Andy, there we go. Yes, I can see we've started. So let's just dig in here and I will share my screen. So show my screen. So the 3P framework, as I call it, is there's three parts to actually making money, acquiring clients from any place. But obviously I'm on LinkedIn today talking about this on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, but it could be Facebook, it could be email, it could be anywhere. So the first one is the proposition. If you're getting business right now, and a lot of it is coming from the relationships you already have, referrals, introductions, existing clients, you are at a slight disadvantage. I'll be honest with you. You're at a slight disadvantage coming onto LinkedIn or wherever. And the disadvantage you've got is you've had thus far people approaching you and saying, here's my problem, here's my challenge, can you help me? Or you've helped somebody else I know, can you help me too? That fundamentally changes your proposition, because your proposition has been somebody approaches me and I match what I can do to what they do, what they need. To actually go, you have to spin this the other way round if you want to succeed in the open market. If you're getting a lot of inbound from referrals and introductions, you're just reacting to what the market's telling you. On LinkedIn, anywhere online, you have to research the market and go out with something. So we'll look at that in a second. Then pre-selling. Nobody buys from strangers. Nobody buys from people they don't trust. Nobody buys from people they don't like. No like and trust, even in this age of AI, is absolutely essential. But what most people don't know is, how do I build that? How do I do that? I call it pre-selling. In other words, people are warmed to you before they ever speak to you. They already know about you, understand what you do. There's already a bit of understanding, which makes the sale easier. So we'll look at that. And then the third part of this is the pipeline. I need a process, or you need a process to go, I'm capturing leads. And it's not just about getting the leads. There's a lot of people who say, Dean, I get leads, but they just don't respond to me. I get inquiries and they just ghost me. You need a process to take people down so that the momentum doesn't get lost. And I'm going to explain some of that today. So we're going to look at these three components and what's inside each one. If you don't have any of these components, you will hinder your ability to acquire clients. This does not need to be complicated. It does not need to be, complex. In fact, I would argue that it needs to be kept quite simple, because the more complicated you make it, the more difficult it is to sustain. So Steve, welcome in the chat there. Steve from Florida. We met in Florida, actually, I think a couple of years ago. Did we, Steve, or did we miss each other? I can't remember now. Anyway, so let's have a look at what we're doing. And, oh, there we go. And let's go to our next part. So first things first, let's go to the proposition. You've already got a proposition. You've already got, this is what I do. The issue is it's not packaged for a different buyer. So if you want to, say, for an example, make $25,000 new business in a month, right? And that's a conservative goal for most people. You have to reverse engineer, okay, what are they buying? What are they actually buying for that? Why does that matter? Now, one of the advantages and downsides of LinkedIn, for an example, or Facebook or wherever, one of the downsides is you can't chase two rabbits at the same time. You can't sell two things at the same time without creating confusion. So you are one person on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, or wherever you are. You're one person with limited bandwidth. The more rabbits you try and chase, the harder this thing gets. Let's look at what those rabbits are. Rabbits are, well, my customers some customers only want to do this, and some customers like to do this, and I've got this thing to sell, and that's the. So you can have multiple rabbits in the sense of multiple services. So that's the first set of rabbits. So you could have three different services. How do you create the bandwidth to communicate them clearly when it's just you with one LinkedIn channel, one Facebook channel? It's hard. You can do it, but actually the more things you introduce, the more confusion and complexity you add. So you've got multiple rabbits of different services you're offering. Then you've got multiple rabbits in the sense of different audiences. You know, I can help a sales leadership team to improve their sales on LinkedIn. I can help a marketing team improve their lead generation on LinkedIn. I can help a fractional expert or a fractional leader or a fractional business owner, a fractional marketing consultant, a fractional CFO. I could help them. It's all the same thing to me, but to them, it's very different. And so if I'm trying to speak to multiple people at once, I end up increasing the complexity. I start to generalize, and so I don't cut through. So what I recommend to people doing is what we call the 5 1s. Pick one painful problem that you can solve. You might be able to solve 10 or 3 or 4. Pick one painful problem that they want to solve. I could go 2 hours just on this slide here, because a lot of people are trying to solve a problem that people don't want to solve. It's a nice to have. So pick a problem. If you want an easy life, pick a problem people are motivated to solve. That's number 1. Number 2, what's the outcome you can deliver? Not just you can solve the problem. What does the end result look like? Next, pick one target audience that is really the sweet spot. Yeah, not the kind of the ones you are most comfortable. Who is the sweet spot? Who value that problem the most? You can get access to them You can find them online. You can find them and they value the problem. Motivated buyers. And go after them. Yeah. Next, you build all of your message around those three things. To the problem, the outcome, the audience, the message. And then the third or the fourth part or the fifth part rather of that. So you got the message. The fifth part is the system, your process of how you get that outcome. So how do you take somebody at the beginning of the journey from a problem to an outcome? What's the steps that you take? And I don't mean I do 5 hours a week of fractional work. That doesn't tell you it's getting an outcome. The steps to get the outcome, to see the transformation in the business, the career, the client, the life, whatever it is. That becomes your proposition for wherever you're going to go. Interestingly, your methodology is the most valuable thing that will help validate that you are capable of delivering the outcome. Not your 25 years doing what you do, your method. Your method is so important to your strategy because it creates confidence in going from problem to outcome. It creates the confidence. What often people do is say, oh, I can help you with this and this is how I do it. 3-month package, it's £3,800 or whatever. And it doesn't validate, they don't join the dot. It doesn't make sense that goes from there to there. The methodology is critical to that. Now, the next thing I'm going to say here, and I haven't got a slide for it, but I'm going to show you this in a second. You also need to pick a price. Price is positioning. Now, if you want to make $25,000 a month, add new business of that. Let's say that's your target, that's your goal, that's your objective. It could be 50, it could be 10. If you're selling a $2,000 or £2,000 thing, service, that's a hell of a climb every single month. Hell of a climb to go, right, oh, to get to that 25,000 or 24,000 or whatever number it is. Actually, I need 12 customers. 12 customers. Now, if it's 12 customers paying you 2,000 a month, brilliant, let's do it, because that's straightforward. But climbing and getting 12 new customers every month at $2,000, that's a sales job. Hi, Mathan. Hi, David. Hi, Steve. Hi, Andy. Hi, Ibrahim. That's a sales job, right? You're a salesperson. It's much better to think about what's the offer I could position and sell into the market that does not require me to need huge numbers of clients. So for an example, the thing that I sell most of on LinkedIn, I only need 5 of those customers to hit my budget for the whole business. 5. And I've got me, I've got a set and 4 people, me, Dave, and 3 people in our sales team. 5. So in theory, we only need 1 each. 1 each to hit our whole budget. That makes it far more interesting because now I can approach LinkedIn, Facebook with a very different plan, because now I only need 1. And so you might think, oh, it's very difficult to sell a $15,000 or a $10,000 thing. It's actually no different than selling a $5,000 thing. If you change your market to the top 1% of your market, a $15,000 thing is not as hard. I can remember, this is about 10 years ago, I was doing some work on LinkedIn, and I used to do things where I'd write posts for people many, many years ago. And we'd write posts for people. And it was so interesting because the local business owners would be like, £500 a month, that's a lot for social media posts. And then I worked with a bank where they thought $5,000 was a great price. So you just need to think about this. Where do you want to position yourself here with what you're selling? Because price is positioning. If I tried to sell a $5,000 LinkedIn service to a local electrician, they might value LinkedIn. They might value being present online, but not at 5,000. But a bank, because of their value, their deal size, what they're going on, completely different context. So think about it. Where do you want to be in the market? Where do you want to be? And I just want to re-emphasize something before we move on, what I call the Red Bull strategy. This is what I call the Red Bull strategy, the 5 1s. A lot of people get frustrated when I tell them this because they go, but Dean, I can do lots of things. Yeah, but doing lots of things will get you into the Virgin Coke strategy. Trying to do lots of things and succeed will get you into the Virgin Coke strategy, when you need to be following the Red Bull strategy. So what is that? Well, many years ago, Richard Branson decided to launch his own version of Coca-Cola called Virgin Coke. It didn't last long, and you can go onto YouTube and he'll tell you the story of it. He launched a challenger brand to Coca-Cola, and for a little while, it looked like he was going to actually achieve it. And he puts it down to overconfidence. He was overconfident in his ability to take on Coca-Cola. Now, just to put it in context, Richard Branson is a billionaire. Richard Branson is not some naive little business owner. He is a serious player globally. But Coca-Cola's marketing budget is bigger than his entire net worth. Coca-Cola's marketing team is bigger than his entire business, right? And he decided to take them on. They can outspend him. They can outlast him. They can wipe the floor with him. And he decided to take them on full front. Yeah. And he tells the story in some videos. It's worth watching. It's really interesting. And basically what happened is Coca-Cola went, we cannot allow this to happen. And within about 48 hours, they wiped him out. So literally wiped him out. Why? He could not compete with that power, that strength. He didn't have the manpower, the money, the time, or the resources to take them on. The internet, wherever you're going, LinkedIn, email, social media, wherever, is Coca-Cola. There are a lot of people doing things. There is a lot of noise, and noise, your competition is not your biggest threat. Noise is your biggest threat. People not getting it, people missing it, people not understanding it, you being drowned out, you being irrelevant. That's your biggest competition here, not the person down the road who does something similar to you. It's actually noise. Noise is your biggest competitor. Now, what Red Bull did is different. They decided, we don't have the money to take on Coca-Cola. We don't have the resources. We can't do that, right? Because we'll run out of money and we'll run out of manpower. We can't just afford to spend billions on marketing to basically create such a dominant position that we've built a fortress, nobody can take us on. We're not in that position either, neither me nor you. So instead, what they did is they took on some very small markets. They didn't go for the mass markets where Coca-Cola would and all the others would eat their lunch. They went for some very niche markets to dominate. So one of them, which is on screen, is the vodka and Red Bull, the nightlife market. They really owned that vodka and Red Bull thing. And that got them a foothold. Extreme sports, your snowboarders, your BMX and your mountain biking and all that kind of stuff, your parachute jumping, quite niche markets, right? Quite niche markets. And they owned it. They still do. That's where they started. Now today, Red Bull has 20% of the soft drink market. They're huge. You can buy them in every shop, everywhere. They scaled out of a segment. They dominated a slither of the market, got really good there, and grew out of it. Exactly what I'm telling you to do here. LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you're thinking is noisy. Email is noisy. And so it's much better to go, let's do our version of vodka and Red Bull or extreme sports and own it and get success in there, than try to go after lots of different things. And I get it. It's not comfortable when you've got expertise. Like, one of the things I had to do was, and I'm going through a bit of an evolution right now, and you'll see more of that in the coming weeks. I was a marketing consultant, so I would advise on websites, email, copywriting, everything to help a business get customers. Still do. But what I realized is I was losing, because that diversity in what I could do, that flexibility in what I could do, actually was biting me in the ass, because I couldn't cut through for anything. I couldn't build a reputation around anything specific. I couldn't get known and remembered for anything specific. Now, so I had to, even though at that point LinkedIn was becoming a bigger and bigger wedge, and I just went, let's just flip everything and talk about it from a LinkedIn point of view. And my business just went, because I had a clearer message, I had a clearer process, I understood the audience better, I understood what they wanted better, and I could really focus what I was doing. My focus was really clear. And a lot of people forget that it's not just, I've got to be focused, and I've got to give clarity to somebody else. If I haven't got that clarity, I can't give it to somebody else. If I've got 3 personas in my head, I can't talk to one, because it'll get merged as it comes out. So we need that proposition. You need an offer, and you want to be, if your target is 10K a month, right? It's much easier to go, I'll sell a 5K thing on LinkedIn and really focus. I've had people come to me and say, Dean, I want to sell my book on LinkedIn. And I'm like, how much is it? And they're like, $20, $30, $25. I'm like, I really wouldn't, because you're going to need tens of thousands of people to look at that book every month to make any decent money. Tens of thousands, right? If I focus on my 15K offer, I need 5 customers in the whole month, and I've got 5 people. If you've got a 15K offer and you want to get to 25K, we'll ignore the fractions here, but 2 customers. So then it becomes a different conversation, doesn't it? It becomes, hang on, I need 2 customers to make 30K, just to keep the maths easy. How do I invest my time wisely to get 2 people seriously interested? How do I spend that time, whether it be 30 minutes a day or an hour every other day, whatever that looks like? How do I spend that time wisely? And that's the question many people are not asking on LinkedIn. They're going, oh, I'll post and I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do the other. But they're not going, how am I spending this time in the right way to get those 2 people who are going to pay me $15,000 each? That's the question. And when you start to think about it and go, oh, hang on a minute, if I devote 30 minutes a day to LinkedIn, that's 2.5 hours a week, and we'll work on 4 weeks. That's 10 hours a month, and I need 2 people. Think about that. What are we doing? Are we doing the right things? Are we complaining about only getting 200 impressions? You see what I'm saying here? We've got it the wrong way around. So let's come to pre-selling. Now, this is the bit that really matters. We've got a proposition. We've built our offer. We've built our methodology. Yet people don't buy because they've seen your thing once. People don't buy because they heard about it today. So what we need to be doing is thinking about, how do we make sure people clearly understand the value of what we've got to offer? Now, I could show you a whole load of LinkedIn tips, and you're already drowning in LinkedIn tips, let's be honest, right? What you need to think about is, I've got one thing to sell. Now, everything I do has to wrap around it. That does not mean you spam post. That does not mean you just pitch slap people, right? What it means is everything connects to it. So your profile, which is where everybody nosy Parkers looks at you, does it show them what you've got to offer? I said to somebody earlier, I said, you know what you can sell to people, but people don't know what they can buy, because your profile is a shop, and I'm just using this figuratively, and you've got no stock. You've got no stock. Your shop's empty. So on your profile, that one thing you're going to sell, your 10,000 offer, your 15,000 pound offer, your 2,000 a month retainer, whatever it is, can I read up about it on your profile? Does your profile at the top lead me down to your offer at the bottom? Can I see it? Yeah. If you're sensitive about price, by the way, I had this conversation with a client. It's a client, but I consider him a friend as well. A client today, and price. Yeah. If you want people coming to you, not questioning the price, put it out there. Put it out there. Have a one pager on your profile and put the price there, because then it's there. You can't run from it. You can't avoid it. You'll get people inquiring, knowing the price. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, but what if somebody sees the price and doesn't want to buy? Do you want to talk to people who don't want to buy? Oh yeah, but what? You want to negotiate? You want to do a deal? You want a discount? Or do you want people who go, that's a fair price? So put it out there. If I looked at your profile right now and asked yourself this question, could I figure out and make a decision on whether to buy from you, what I wanted to buy from you today? Could I figure it out? Because if I can't, that's a problem. You're forcing people to try and join the dots. So your profile needs to have your offer clearly labeled and clearly in there so that people can read it. They know what it is. That eliminates awkward conversations on calls. It eliminates the wrong people coming to the calls, but it also pre-educates people about what you're selling so they can consider it. Because people take time to consider something. They do not see it once and go, yeah, let's do it. There's been a pattern of consumption and understanding and development that's happened. So your profile needs to do the pre-sell. Now, your content doesn't have to be promo after promo, like spam promos. What it does need to do is link. So you have to link up your two parts of your content. What I call attract and nurture content has to directly tie in to what you sell. It doesn't have to be, oh, so when you buy my thing, but it does have to appeal to the same buying motivations, circle around your methodology and your process so that it all feels joined up. Now, I said to a group of people in London, I delivered some of these slides in London, more than these slides in London on Wednesday. And I said to them, yeah, that literally does it really matter how many impressions you get on your posts if you get 15 good quality leads a month and 2 of them convert or 5 of them convert? Does it matter? Does it matter if you get 200 views or 10,000 views? Because very often, and I'll just say this, the content that will go up like a rocket will be so broad, it does not help you. It does not pull the right people in. But the more specific you go, the more you capture the right buyers. So I can do LinkedIn tips and go absolutely berserk on the platform. But if I do that, I will attract all sorts of randoms and actually want my clients to hang around me. The very nature of this, by the way, just to remember, particularly on LinkedIn, is the people who buy rarely engage. The people who buy rarely engage. So if you're judging your content's effectiveness by how many people engage, you are missing the point. The people who generally engage are other people who do what you do, content creators and people trying to sell stuff. That's basically the majority of people engaging. A lot of the serious decision makers are what we call lurkers. And so the very nature of the way LinkedIn and social media works is you need engagement to get distribution, large scale, but actually to get clients, you don't need large scale distribution, you need relevance. You need to be relevant. So your content needs to circle your methodology and your offer. Not like literally direct promos, but it's the same theme. So you're building this message around all of the things that's going on. Your attract content, which is a bit lighter, a bit more personal, a bit more you, is building the trust. It's building the familiarity with you. And you can share things like, this is what I'm up to this week. I've just been working on this, and give examples without promoting. Nurture is more useful stuff. And that's where you can take nuggets from what you do and go, one of the things that constantly when I'm working with clients is, and share that story. You also need to grow your network if you're on LinkedIn or on Facebook, what we call Facebook phishing. Or if you're doing through email, you need to get access to your buyers. So you need to be around those people, because most people's LinkedIn network is full of people like them, competitors, or it's full of people they used to work with. On Facebook, it's full of their families when they should be going to groups and networking in the groups where all of their audience is hanging out. And their email list is as dead as a dodo. So Apollo will help you find the right people. So you need to get in the right people. This is not about selling aggressively, pre-selling. I know selling is a loaded word for a lot of people, but it's not really about selling. It's more about seeding. Seeding. Yeah. Think about it like you're just dropping things that like join the dots a little bit, but without, hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. You're just dropping it and letting them join it all up. So that's pre-selling. You don't have to do a lot of it, but you have to do it consistently, because the other thing about the online world is people are all different stages of their buying journey. There's some people red hot right now that need to see something from you. There's some people, actually, brutal truth, there's some people red hot looking for what you can offer right now. They're in your network, they know your name, they recognize your face. But because you've been a bit conceptual, you've ducked telling people what you offer, your profile doesn't spell it out in clear terms, they're actually looking at somebody else. And I know that's unkind to say to you, but it's true. There are people in your network right now, there are people who know your name, who need what you've got. You could sell them something that would help them, and they're looking somewhere else because you're not being clear. They're literally going to buy from somebody else because you're not clear. This stuff, by the way, is a once and done thing. It's building an offer, building it clearly, and it's not a lot of work. There's some setup, there's infrastructure, but it's not a lot of work. So just a reminder, your profile needs to do the pre-selling, right? Your profile, your content. I talk about 4 types. I actually used to talk about 3. And then one of my colleagues, Holly, said, no, there's 4. And she spoke to me about it. And I said, yeah, you're absolutely right. So there's 4. So attract content is about building the trust and visibility and awareness. Engage is about driving engagement with the target audience. Nurture content is about building that depth of trust that they know what you're doing. And convert content, we'll talk about that later because that's a different thing altogether. All of that content that you put out there has to help. Obviously, it needs to circle what you're selling and seed what you're selling. But it should always have an interesting angle, a slant on it, a take on it that's a bit unusual. Yeah, because it needs to come from you. It can't just be like, here's some information that is on Google everywhere. It needs your interesting angle on it. Then it needs your opinions in it. You need to post and talk about why your methodology is better, why you believe it's the best, why you think it works. You are not the BBC. Your job is to advocate for your way. And I see so many people talking about things like they like it's just one of an option. No, you, in your book, you are the only option. You're the best option. And it's about time you had that conviction and actually stepped out there and went, I think I am the best option, actually. That's why I think that what I do is the best option. You need to have that confidence. If you don't have that confidence, nobody else is going to have it either. So you need to start sharing your opinions about the way your industry works, the way the problem works, and actually advocate for it. And then the other part to this is you need to load it with your experience. So stories, examples, specifics from your work that you've done. I don't mean you have to name names, but you do have to load it with your experience. The stuff that's happened without, obviously going, well, I work with this client and this is the name, here's the tag, because they might not like that. But APE, an interesting angle, a personal perspective, and your experiences, things that have happened, specifics. Otherwise, it's just Google boring content and people won't see their situation in it because you'll talk too high a level that it'll go over people's heads and they'll look at somebody else and go, they understand me. You understand them, but because you're not being clear, they see that they're a better fit. Now, pipeline. This is the bit that everybody wants. Now, think about what we've done, the little journey we've been on. Number one, we've built an offer. We've now got something focused to sell. We know who we're selling it to. We've sorted out our activity, our day-to-day activity, where we're posting a couple of times a week. Our profile's doing the heavy lifting. We're building an audience of buyers through our network, through our Facebook, through our email, whatever we're doing. So we've now got people around us. We've got content and stuff around us educating people. Now it comes to, we've got to convert this stuff. We've got to move it. This is the bit where everybody struggles. I will say half of the struggle here is because the groundwork of the proposition and the pre-selling isn't being done. So often people say, Dean, are you telling me to rewrite my business? No, what I'm saying is what you do right now isn't packaged right. And the way you're communicating the value of it isn't packaged right. That's the proposition. Then you've got to pre-sell it, seed it, so that people know about it, are warming to it. They have more confidence in it. Now we've got to capture the leads. And I have a little methodology here I call LAP. I can't call it LAPD because I'll get sued, but it's LAPD. Leads, appointments, proposals, deals. If you've got a 15K offer, let's just do the maths here, right? If you've got a 15K offer and you need 2 clients, or a 12.5K offer, because I said 25K at the beginning, 12.5K offer, that's your service. Great. You need 2 of those a month. Great. Just 2 deals. Okay. So how many proposals is that? How many proposals do you need to put out there? Now, a lot of people say to me, Dean, if I get somebody on a call, I would say it's 50%. 50% convert. Okay, so let me explain this leads process for you. So number one, we've got to capture leads. Number 2, we've got to get those leads on a call. Not just do the call, we've got to get them on a call, right? That's a process. That's a repeatable process you've got to do. That's a system. That's infrastructure, right? This gets a whole lot easier because you know what you're selling. So the leads are all coming in for the same buying reasons, the same wants, the same motivations. So you can actually build a repeatable process there. You could actually template it. You could template that because your audience is defined, your message is defined, the offer is defined, which means the way you get leads leads onto calls can be templated and structured so it's repeatable and easy to do. So leads, you got to get them on a call. On that call, you have to run that call well so that you uncover what's really going on so you can propose our 3rd step, your offer. Proposal is more than just sending them a quote. It's proposing what you want to do on the call and getting that out to them and showing them the value of it. So leads to call, on the call, proposing, and then on the from the proposal, you've got to actually close it. That is a process. Capturing leads is a process. Then you're going to get them on a call, then a proposal, then a deal. Most people don't think about it like that. So what happens is they think the leads bit was the hard bit. And then they go, hey, do you want to come on a call? And nobody does. Or they get people on the call, they get a call booked in, and then the momentum is lost between the call booking and the call happening, and they don't show up. It's not that they're flaky half the time. It's the fact that they lose sight of the reason the call was valuable in the first place. Their momentum slows. It's your job with your infrastructure between lead and appointment to sustain that momentum. So if you book them on a call and go, hey, do you fancy chatting? And they go, yeah, okay, yeah. That's great. But when their busy day comes and their back-to-back meetings come and they're overwhelmed and a task falls behind, they will not remember that you can help them solve X, Y, and Z problem. They'll just say, oh, I'm having a chat with this person. And you'll be the first thing to get cancelled. So you have to create the call, book the call with intention, and the prospect, the ideal client who's coming to the call, needs to know what they'll gain and be reminded of what they'll gain from that call. There's infrastructure that has to happen between. In the call, you have to run the call right. If you just blurt out, hey, this is what I do, blah, 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 they'll probably be really nice to you. I hope that sounds interesting. Do you have any questions? No. And they will be very nice to you. And actually, they have no intentions of buying. Why? Because you've not uncovered their reason to pay you. You've not uncovered it. They will tell you what they will pay for and why they will pay it on the call if you do that right. But if your eagerness to sell, or you are panicking about how to do that call, or you think you have to be a slick salesperson to do that call, you will bugger it up. And what will happen is a good prospect will become not interested because you didn't uncover the reason they will pay you, the reason that they will move forward. And why is that important? Because that goes into the proposal itself. When you document what you're going to do for them, you actually tailor it to what they've told you, like literally specifically, so that then when you get off that call, you can summarize it and you can follow up using what they've told you to keep the momentum. So these are the pathways to get leads. I'll just show you a couple of these in a moment. Some of the big ones, I use a few of these. I don't recommend doing all of them because it'll take you a little journey to master one of these. Yeah. So most people who are expert-led, selling their expertise, will want to avoid the one on the far right, the hyper-targeted outreach, because it's a bit more direct. It's very powerful. It's very effective. It's the most efficient way to get clients, but it is a little bit icky for some. So I'm not going to cover that one too much here today. Relationship-led selling. Often, the people I work with are very much embedded in delivering with clients and working with their clients. And so relationship-led selling, whilst it's effective, they often drop the ball on that, just being honest. Just building relationships on the platform, they drop the balls because it requires them to be quite manually organized, if that makes sense. So I'm going to focus on the first three. Email and newsletter. Email to today is still the top ROI channel of everything. It is the best at getting clients. It's the most high converting, easiest to scale, easiest to manage, one-to-many approach you can do. In fact, if you look at these three, the first three are all one-to-many. The second two are one-to-one. So you can build an email list, and let's say you were targeting lawyers, for an example, or law firms. You might not be, but if you had 200 law firms on your email list, and you had an offer for law firms, that's gold. That's gold. You don't need a huge list to do it if the list is focused, because now you can get really specific. So email list is really powerful. Now, in the earlier section on pre-selling, I talked about pre-selling content, attract and nurture and engage. Demand creation content we'll look at a little different because there's some principles you can deploy in there. But that is simply content that drives demand. It's content that actually gets people to convert. White papers, lead magnets, that kind of stuff. But also types of content and posts that drive inbound leads. So they're a little bit more one-to-many. Not one-to-many in the sense of millions, but in the sense of hundreds, maybe thousands. And anybody can do this. You don't have to be a marketing pro to do it. And the great thing about one-to-many strategies like this, albeit with a niche audience, is you get high conversion, but the effort requirement is lower. It's less time spent. Then you've got the events and webinars. This has been the events and webinars. Doing organic events and webinars has generated me more than $10 million over the last 6 years. So I'm hyper hooked to those because of how well they do. So there's 3 triggers that make people become leads that you put into one-to-many stuff. First one is inner urgency. So this is about not putting false pressure on people, because that's icky. That's what a lot of salespeople try and do, and it doesn't work very well. Inner urgency is about helping them see that the cost of waiting has become greater than the cost of acting. Often what happens is people normalize their pain. They normalize the problem. And I'll give you a visual example of this in a minute. And part of what you've got to do through either your newsletter, your demand creation content, your webinars, is to actually create that inner urgency, to make people realize that actually staying where they are is really expensive. It hurts. And pursuing and moving forward is actually cheaper. They know that logically, but complacency is a funny thing. We can sit in something and know that it's, we all know, for an example, if you don't deal with an issue, it gets worse. Yet we often put things off. Inner urgency is about not pushing on people with countdown clocks and that kind of stuff, and buy now and only 5 left. We're not selling freaking products on Amazon. It's about helping people feel that now it's more expensive to not do this. And that's a skill. I have to help my clients do it. I have to help my clients learn it, because if you don't do that, you have a lot of people who basically hang around you who you can help, but won't move forward because they're not at the point where it's really, really hurt. It is hurting, but they've normalized it. But because they've normalized it, they will keep proceeding on until somebody else brings that inner urgency out and draws that up and makes that bubble up. And you could be the person who gives loads of value, loads of help, and then all of a sudden somebody else triggers the inner urgency and they go off somewhere else. That's the issue if you don't do it. Now, the wake up is slightly different. This is about helping them see their problem differently, show them something that they're not seeing. And that prompts them to realize, oh my God, yeah, that's what's going on here. Often they don't realize what's really going on. And so you've got to wake them up to that. And you've got to change it by revealing what they don't really see, the blind spots they don't see. And then the black box, really simple mechanics here, is you need to make them see that the outcome is valuable for them. They need to feel it. They need to see it and touch it and sense it. And then give them a next step. If you're educating people and trying to educate people to buy, by that I mean tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff, what you're doing is increasing their knowledge, but you're not increasing the demand to do anything. You're actually getting them excited to go and do it without you. Black box trigger is basically where you make them feel that this outcome that they want is really good for them. And actually you need to take a step. If you don't do these, somebody else will. And it's not about manipulation. They already know this. What you're doing is helping them shake off their comfort zone, shake off and prioritize something they know they should be prioritizing. You can't make somebody do something that isn't important to them. But sometimes, as we know, the important things get put off for non-important things. Sometimes people prioritize putting sticking plasters on things that they shouldn't. And so what we're trying to do here is not manipulate them into buying something that they don't want. It's to it's to basically shake off that complacency. Manipulation is about getting, playing pawns with people. This is about going, think it through, think carefully, stop for a minute, get off the bandwagon and think about where you are and where you want to be. And that process makes them realize, I need to do something. Because often we'll drift through life and let things slide. So many people do that. They have dreams and goals and plans, and then the day-to-day gets in their way, and before you know it, they're reaching retirement and going, I never did that. And that's what happens to us all. And what you've got to do is figure out, how do you do that for your clients so that they don't drift and drift and drift? A real simple way of thinking about this is, this is an old car from the years ago. I'm going to wrap up in a second. I've got a QR code to share with you with a quiz about the pathways. This is an old banger, right? Whenever you think about how do I get people to want to become a lead? How do I get people to want to buy? The tendency is to critique and show them the problems with what's going on already. But if they've normalized the pain, if they've normalized it, it doesn't feel like a problem because they've got used to it. If you're riding around in a beat up car and it's running all right, and you get used to the fact that it doesn't start first time, you get used to the fact that the steering wheel's really tough you get used to it. And so what often people try and do is go, well, what happens when that car blows up? And people go, but I get what you're saying, but they don't really believe it's going to happen. Yeah. Nobody believes they're going to crash their car. Nobody thinks they'll be the person, right? If we didn't have in the UK it was mandatory for car insurance, most people wouldn't buy it because they don't think that they'll crash. That's how it works. And so if you just try and tell them this could happen, they're not going to do it. So what we have to do is, and what those triggers do, and I'm going to show you it here, is they actually do this. So I'll give you an example from somebody's reversed into my wife's car. This is a week or so ago. She got the car back last week. So somebody's reversed into a car and they, dented the door quite badly. I had to go in the garage for a few days. And they gave her a courtesy car, and it's a brand new car. I mean, her car's only a couple of years old, but it was a brand new car, all the bells and whistles, and she's driving around in it and she loves it, right? Now, if I had a conversation with her like 2 weeks ago about changing her car, she'd go, no, I'm quite happy with my car. I like it. It's quite nice, right? Then she goes and sees and feels and senses and experiences and understands what that courtesy car, that brand new Nissan Qashqai 76 plate, I think it was, or 75 plate, I'm not sure. And it's got all the nice bells and whistles. It feels right nice. It's higher driving position. And you drive that for a few days and you feel about it and sense it. And then her car comes back and it's like, I missed that one now. This one doesn't have this. And what happens is when you start to see and feel and experience and understand what the new world looks like, the pain normalization that you've gone through kind of falls away, and you start to see both the pain and the opportunity. And that creates enough good, healthy mix of discomfort and desire to move forward. And you need to use that in both your sales calls, in your content, in your proposals, and in any follow-up to the proposals to keep that deal moving. Otherwise, what happens is the Mercedes fails, the Mercedes fades into the background, and they go back to here. Hopefully I'm making sense here, right? So what happens is you can get somebody to there, and then if you run the back end of the sales process the wrong way, they end up back there, and your proposal looks nice, but it's not as important. But when they're reminded of this bit, your proposal, what you're offering, stays important. It stays as a priority. This is not something that you have to do over and over. This is an infrastructure you need to build. Proposal templates. This is a type of post. Some of you have seen it before. This is how I get my leads. I do them through events. So some of you watching this will follow up with me and maybe want to talk a little bit more. I do these every week, so I've got more leads than I need, and I nurture all of my leads doing it. This is what I want you to do. Grab this quiz in a moment. I'm going to show you one more thing that's really important to this. So the appointment process is having a real structure to how you run your calls and how you get those people to calls, so that it's not just a booked a call and they're moving forward. Then when you propose it, you actually have to have a structure to the proposal. You can't just do a quote, because they'll look that whole example of Bangor to Mercedes again. The Mercedes disappears in their mind. So the Mercedes part disappears and your proposal just becomes some information. Just becomes information again. It's not that anything's wrong with what you're doing. It's the fact that life gets in the way and other priorities dump on people and it gets lost. The importance of it gets lost because the Mercedes fades. So in your appointment, to get them to come to the call, you need to use the Mercedes and the Bangor, the old car and the new car. In your proposal, you need to use the old car and the new car and create that tension so it keeps things moving forward. And then in your deals and your follow-ups, not send chasers, just checking in and all that kind of stuff. What you need to do is have a sequence of value that keeps that momentum moving so that the Mercedes does not get lost. So we've done quite a lot here in this session talking about the proposition. Have you got that? Have you got something written down and focused in your mind that you're going to sell? Number one. Number two, are you pre-selling? Does your profile, does your content, whatever you're doing, is it helping build that trust? Is it helping build that education of people know what you do? Is it all building to one thing? Because if it isn't, they're buying elsewhere. They're going to buy from somebody else. Then it's the pipeline. How am I getting the leads? And how am I moving them through that journey? Not just getting the leads. Anybody can teach you how to get leads on LinkedIn. That's relatively easy. The hard bit is having the infrastructure and the systems to go from lead to a call, from a call to a proposal, from a proposal to a one deal. Because if you get the leads and you don't know that bit, you've spent a lot of money and a lot of effort to get names on an email list or names in a database that go nowhere. So what I'd like you to do is fill this quiz in, because it will show you exactly which pathway is for you. And if you feel like there's elements of what you're doing right now that are not joined up, you don't feel like you've got the infrastructure to actually support you getting those 2 new clients paying you 12 grand a month or whatever the number is. If you don't feel that that's a system that you've got, you can message me and I will audit your system on a call. And I will go, where's the weak spots? I'll show you how I can help you build it. If you want to do that, we'll do it. If you just want to take my advice and go run with it, that's cool too. So do the quiz. And then if you feel that some of the infrastructure that you've got is missing pieces of the puzzle, there's things that just aren't working quite well enough, great at what you do. Clients rave about you, right? The referrals come in because you're good at what you do. Awesome. But you know that you cannot rely on those, and the infrastructure to get them outside of referrals isn't strong enough. If it's not strong enough, we can make it strong. So do the quiz and then come and chat to me if you want to take it one step further and audit it. And I'll give you some pointers of where to go and what to do. But hopefully this has been helpful in helping you think more clearly about what it really takes to build that business that's not dependent on somebody randomly introducing you. They're great leads, but they don't always come when you need them. And you can't build predictability on somebody else doing that for you. You need the infrastructure. And this infrastructure, it's infrastructure. It's not work, it's infrastructure. Because the lead generation bit, that's a little bit of work. That's like 30 minutes. 30 minutes a day, a couple of hours a week. It's the other bits that you need the infrastructure around no offer, no audience clarity, it's hard to get the leads. No infrastructure to get leads onto calls and proposals and deals. You could spend a lot of time getting leads that never go anywhere. I've said enough. You know your business better than me. You know where you're up to better than me. The pathway will help you find out which is the best way to get the leads. And then I'll audit you, if you want to, I'll audit where you're at, your offer and your process at the back end on conversion and show you where you need to improve. So DM me if you want to do that. Other than that, thank you for joining me today. Appreciate it. Hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully this has prompted some thoughts in your mind, and have a great rest of your week.
Dean's strategy helped me find clients. I created clients for my business with this program. It works.
My connections have grown, my reach has grown, my views have grown, and actually so has my business revenue. Over that 3-month period, I have actually signed up 3 new clients at a cost of £50,000. That's over just the 3-month period. So it's worth it.
Every single time there's a session, I just feel like it's just a golden moment. Every single session brings me something really new and really valuable, and I've started to attract high value client sales, which is wonderful, and it's really given our business a boost.
Dean Seddon and the Maverick team, what can I say? Apart from absolutely awesome.
The results have been amazing. We have had loads of incoming leads coming into our lead funnels and workflow processes on our website, and we've also built a really successful community around the content that we produce and push out into our LinkedIn channels. My team has also learned a lot from working with the team at Maverick, and they've also helped us really create fantastic events on LinkedIn.
I'm much more confident, and all of that, without a shadow of a doubt, is down to the work and the training and support I've had from Dean and the rest of his team as part of the Accelerator course.
In terms of the training, Maverick have been absolutely fantastic. They've been so supportive. They've talked me through all the stages of what you have to do, why you have to do it, the benefits of doing it the way they tell us to do it. And I've gone from being with no social media to being actually addicted, because I can see what this can do for lead generation, generating new business. It's just been incredible, and Maverick have been superb throughout the whole process.
The guys at Maverick, they've been great. Dean and his team, very knowledgeable, wealth of experience, and we've had quite a few one-to-ones now that really taught us the depths, the nooks and crannies of LinkedIn, which none of us would have known before, and I think we can continue to use that going forward, and it's been great so far.